Man, it is not a good year to be a green roller coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure.
You know, if I had $1 for every time a green roller coaster was rumored to be closing at Six Flags Great Adventure, I'd have $2. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happening twice. So, hopefully by now you've seen our video talking about the rumors regarding Kingda Ka's closure at Six Flags Great Adventure, but there is another big green roller coaster literally next door to Kingda Ka that might also be closing as early as the end of this year, and that is Green Lantern.
Yeah, this one I'm not as sad about though. I'll be honest with you, I don't like this ride. I think a lot of the first gen, I guess, B&M stand-up coasters just don't work for me because of my height. Yeah. I've heard people who are taller say it doesn't bother them as much, but where I sit on the restraints, it is a constant ear bashing.
Yeah.
It's not fun. So I recognize that some people like it. I mean, it's somewhat of a popular ride because it's right up front.
Sure. And, I would say it's not running maybe as well as it used to. From everything I've gathered, it was way more popular when it was at Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom. It started its life as Chang, opening back in 1997. And then after Six Flags, was evacuating Kentucky Kingdom and leaving it for dead, they sent it over to Great Adventure to open up in 2011. So it's been at the park for, 14 years?
Yeah, it's not the icon that Kingda Ka is, but to close 2 roller coasters, which to the general public, they're not really looking at stats or looking at how comfortable it is. It's just all they see are 2 roller coasters being removed and 1 being added. That was supposed to be added the year prior.
I mean, there's a lot that can be said about this. And a lot of it also ties into some of the things that we talked about with Kingda Ka. One of the big points that we brought up regarding Kingda Ka's closure is that we're in a post-merger world where now you have a lot of the Cedar Fair executives at corporate that are making some decisions that maybe some of the people at Six Flags wouldn't have before. And so that's why you have this back and forth discourse of how to run things, because the merger was only finalized in July. So all this is still very new and very fresh. And so some of the things we've been hearing from people who know a lot more than us is that they are looking at Green Lantern as one of the attractions to close, which I'm just going to say, first off, what a cruddy 50th anniversary for Great Adventure.
Yeah, not a great year to be Great Adventure, which 50 is a pretty big milestone, and this has always been a flagship park. At least part of that is due to its location. It's right in the middle of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, namely New York City, Philadelphia, and New Jersey is literally the most densely populated state in the US, so a lot of people concentrate at that area and draws in a lot of people, right? Which, again, makes it look even worse that they're treating it so poorly or that it's just not running up to the way it should be.
Yeah, well, and their big whole thing with the 50th anniversary was we decided to add a roller coaster last minute. That was a direct quote, I believe, from the CEO, that they were able to scramble together and get in Flash Vertical Velocity. If you followed the rumors for that, it was supposedly going to a park in Vietnam that didn't end up coming to pass, and that's also why we have Georgia Surfer going to Six Flags Over Georgia. But funny enough, both attractions were not able to open. Although at this point in time, Flash is testing, so hopefully that means at least it'll be operating early 2025. I would hope that by spring break that thing's up and running. But on top of that, their log flume was having some issues opening late. Their giant wheel, it seemed like Flag Street they were able to get nice and pretty, but that's kind of it.
Yeah, plus having Zumanjaro not be open all year.
For most of it, yeah.
So originally when I heard that there was a chance that Green Lantern was going to be taken out, number one, like I said, I didn't care that much. But number two, my immediate thought was, okay, that would be right at the beginning of the launch track for Kingda Ka, which in theory, if they were to remove that, they could do what they did with Top Thrill.
Yeah,
that was my immediate thought. And now, obviously, we're learning differently, but they're clearing out all of this space to have something huge.
Well, and, if we take this back to, I want to say, earlier this summer, when we heard talks that both of these attractions could be closing, we were always under the impression that, all right, maybe they take out Green Lantern at the end of this year, and then maybe Ka's, next year or some point down the line, something happens to it. Not even necessarily a closure. That they are eyeing that spot for some sort of big change. And as time has gone on, it seems like they might be fast-tracking Kingda Ka's closure to actually be the end of this year. I mean, if it makes it into next year, fantastic. More time to ride it. But it's not looking great as of right now. And so my immediate assumption was that they wouldn't close 2 big roller coasters in 1 year. So maybe Green Lantern be next year. But I don't know that's going to be the case.
Yeah, and I want to circle back to the Kingda Ka thing because we read everything. And we've seen that, you know, there have been some people who are obviously questioning if it's going to happen. We are too. And I want to make that clear. We are not like, oh, we know exactly what's happening. Like, we don't have any more information than what we share.
I don't even think they know what's happening.
There's not, like, a decision made as far as we know. And we wouldn't be saying anything if we heard this from, like, Bill, who works at the Dippin' Dots stand.
Yeah. So, Green Lantern. I am not surprised that it is being targeted for removal. I think this is something that even could have been considered pre-merger, if I'm being honest, because I feel like this has always been an odd addition to Great Adventure in that, yes, it like is something that's different in that it's a stand-up experience versus all of the other roller coasters, but I never felt like it was needed, and it replaced an old big old roller coaster, Great American Scream Machine, that was also at the front of the park. So it seems like they were taking advantage of an opportunity that, hey, this big roller coaster is available from Kentucky Kingdom, let's just send it to Great Adventure, even though there were probably other parks that could have used it. And I know there were talks of like, well, maybe they could put floorless trains on or do something, but when you already have a floorless coaster in the park, it just seemed like if they were to do anything with Green Lantern, the option was always to just close it.
I think that now that everything's all combined, there are some places that these other coasters could go where they'd be more well-loved, because in a park that has like so many huge attractions, and like I feel like sometimes Green Lantern or Medusa kind of get forgotten.
They do.
They could be headliners somewhere else. You know?
Yes, so let's play a what-if game, and that is, if Green Lantern is to close, let's say the end of this year, if they were to relocate it...
The garbage.
I mean, they could scrap it. It is very possible that they could scrap it.
I'm just kidding. Okay, but here's the thing. It is at the point now that I think it would probably need some serious work done.
Yeah, I mean...
You can't just send it as is.
Yeah, it's almost... We're getting closer and closer to it being 20 years old, and...
It's been relocated.
It has, so like that's probably why it's not running as well as it could, and it's tough to take an estimate of like what a B&M coaster of this size's life cycle is. But I would guess that they start looking at stuff around maybe the 25 or so range. It's like, okay, we should do something about it. So there's a very good chance that they might say that it's not worth it to send it to another park because they don't know how much time they'd be able to get out of it. But maybe they do send it somewhere else. So what parks would benefit from having a big old roller coaster like Green Lantern?
So we tossed around a couple options here. We actually discussed this a bit. I think going with the... Legacy Cedar Fair parks, so we're going to look at those. I think Michigan's Adventure is a great option.
Yes, I think their last big coaster was a relocated SLC from Geauga Lake.
Yeah,
so
they don't have a B&M.
They do not have a B&M. So that would actually be great, and from my understanding, they have room that they could make it work. And I think that it would be plenty well received there. A stand-up coaster would be something very different. They don't have
marketable out there.
They don't have a big old sit-down looping coaster. Like you got Corkscrew, but like, So,
yeah. That's the thing, is you gotta look at marketability, right? Like, it's not very marketable at Great Adventure.
Yeah.
It's overshadowed by everything.
Well, and honestly, if you're gonna relocate it, then they could also look at putting floorless trains on it. So, there are some options for it. So, I feel like Michigan's Adventure is an excellent choice.
Michigan's Adventure as a floorless, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. In a similar boat, going back to one of the original Six Flags parks, Six Flags, I would say St. Louis would benefit from a big ol' sit-down looping coaster like this. They do have a B&M, being Batman the Ride, which is a clone, and they also have room for it. And that's clearly one of the parks that the chain has not been super kind to as far as new additions. There's a lot better things that I would like to see there, but at this point, I'm not super optimistic about it. But I think that there is a good chance that they could send a relocated B&M there.
Yeah, I mean, they got the family coaster, which was great. I mean, as far as big thrill, yeah, they haven't gotten anything in a long time. So I think that's a good option.
I would say the last one that comes to my mind is Six Flags Darien Lake. Because they're in a similar boat where they just have not received anything super well since they became a Six Flags park. Their last coaster was Tantrum, which is a clone of Iron Shark at the Galveston Pleasure Pier. And it's a solid ride, you know, vertical lift hill, beyond vertical drop, good fun, but they also don't have a B&M. In fact, the state of New York doesn't have a B&M coaster.
That's crazy, especially when, like, Six Flags Great Adventure isn't even far away, and they have like the most.
Yeah, yeah. You know what would be a funny, like very ironic place to send this to? La Ronde, because they closed their old stand-up coaster that had like B&M track. It was technically an Intamin, but this was like an old Intamin stand-up coaster. That would be funny. Put it right in the same spot. It was green too.
Yeah, they could like be like, oh, we're paying homage.
We're bringing back Cobra. That'd just be funny. That'd be like a slap in the face to all the locals.
Yeah. But anyway, talking about Green Lantern being like removed from Great Adventure, not so much where it's going afterward.
If at all.
If at all. It frees up quite a bit of space. And it's like pretty good real estate. It's like right at the front of the park.
It's one of the first things you see when you get to Great Adventure. And so I feel like there is a lot of potential. And if Kingda Ka closes as well. This was a comment that we got in a video. Someone like measured the space and said, it's bigger than the size that Fury 325 sits on. So like that's just how much land we're talking here between the two attractions.
Wow.
That doesn't mean that they'll use it for one big attraction, but there are a lot of options.
I think that it is safe to say that a lot of money is going to be thrown into Great Adventure in the coming years. They have recently rebranded as a resort, which still makes me giggle a little bit. I'm all for heading that direction. They're just not there yet.
Correct.
I think an addition of an on-site hotel would be really cool too.
Yes, and they just need to freshen the place up. It just needs some TLC. Like, guys, do something about the boardwalk. Like, it's just bad. I mean, you close the parachute tower. I don't even know what's going on with the top spin at this point. And like, and you take out Green Lantern too. If they do end up closing both of these big roller coasters, then you can't just leave it empty. You gotta do something fast because
I think
all the public is gonna turn on you, right?
I know, and I think that's sort of like the PR mindset right now. It's like, all right, if we get rid of this, we have to be like, but
yeah,
we're getting this in its place.
Right.
There has to be something, otherwise they're just gonna piss people off, and they're not gonna want to hear what you have to say if you tell them a year later, like, oh, this is what we're getting.
Right.
It's got to be pretty quick gratification.
So that puts the people at Six Flags Great Adventure in a very interesting predicament, and that is, do you tell people that you're going to close Green Lantern? Because the fact that they're also looking at closing Kingda Ka, you can't really announce one is closing and then just like quietly close the other. And so either they announce both are closing, which in my opinion, that almost might be a worse move, saying, hey, we're closing two big roller coasters at once. Yeah. So that might be another reason why they could be looking at just not saying anything at all, because then they can just close down two roller coasters and then that's it. They just deal with the backlash later. Both options suck.
Yeah, neither is good.
Yeah, but I honestly, I don't envy the position that those marketing people are in, because this is clearly corporate is playing a major hand in this. I genuinely like to believe that the people at Six Flags Great Adventure don't want their world's tallest roller coaster to close. Green Lantern, I think they could get over. But like, you know, now that all of this is happening at once, that is...
I'd be stressed.
A very stressful position to be in.
I think that they can get away with closing Green Lantern with not a ton of notice, but I stand by my feelings that Kingda Ka should go for one more year, suck it up, pay the extra money, because they're going to lose a lot of people. You're going to make a lot of people upset, and they're not going to want to come to your park for a while if they aren't given any notice. Yeah. And having a one final year for the world's tallest roller coaster would draw in a lot of people that they would probably make a lot of money back that they would spend on the maintenance for one more year.
Yeah, that is true.
So here's hoping that's the case.
Yeah, well, and it seemed, again, everything we were hearing, that might have been like the original plan. It seems like things are shifting towards something more immediate.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't like.
But again, nothing is final as far as we know, so...
Yes.
Keep hoping.
Basically, what we're trying to say is if you find yourself in the area or you're willing to travel to go get your final rides in on both of these attractions,
ride the green coasters.
Do it sooner than later.
Yes.
Because you never know when that might be it.
And as El Toro Ryan said, worst case scenario, you got some great rides in on Estrada and an okay B&M stand-up coaster.
That is true. Yeah. So, yeah, let us know down in the comments below what you think of all this that's happening with Six Flags Great Adventure. And stay tuned for more updates here at Coaster Studios. And we'll see you next time.